Welcome back to the Ancestral Findings podcast. This postcard shows Nela Park in Cleveland, Ohio. The year is 1944. A quiet message sits on the back. Rain, rain, no snow for a long time. Simple words, a small window into a big moment in history. Let's walk through what we're looking at and why it matters. Nela Park opened in 1913. General Electric built it as the headquarters for its lighting division. The layout looked more like a college than a factory. Red brick buildings, open lawns, trees lining the roads. It sent a clear signal. This is a place for research and careful work. The name Nela comes from the National Electric Lamp Association. GE folded that company into its operations in the early 1900s and kept the name for the new campus. From the start, the focus here was light. Safer, brighter, longer-lasting light. Light for homes, light for city streets, light for workspaces and storefronts. Inside those buildings, engineers and chemists tested filaments. They tuned gases for fluorescent tubes. They studied reflectors and lenses. They measured color, heat, and efficiency. The output was practical: bulbs that lasted longer, fixtures that used less power, streetlights that made night travel easier and safer. By the 1920s and 1930s, Nela Park had a reputation that reached far beyond Cleveland. School groups toured the grounds, industry visitors came to see demonstrations, local families came too, especially in December. That's when the campus lit up for Christmas. The displays began in the 1920s and grew each year. Strings of color, novel scenes, arches of light over the drives. People would bundle up, pile into cars, and slowly roll past the glowing lawns. For many, it became a tradition. For children, it felt magical. For the company, it showed what electric light could do when it was shaped with care. Now come back to the date on this card, 1944, the middle of World War II. Cleveland carried a heavy share of wartime production. Foundries, engine works, assembly lines. Nela Park joined in. Researchers built lamps for airfields and naval decks. They created beacons that cut through weather. They worked on sealed units that could handle vibration and heat. Even the stamp on this postcard points to that moment. It's a green, 1-cent stamp from the Industry Agriculture for Defense series. A tiny symbol. A reminder that mail itself rode on the back of a national effort. Who received this card? The address reads B. Clough, West Canaan, New Hampshire. The note is short. Rain, rain, no snow for a long time. That's it. During a war, people still passed along tiny pieces of everyday life. Weather, errands, a quick hello. The small talk of postcards did real work. It kept people tied together. Think about the picture on the front. The artist shows orderly lawns and symmetrical buildings. No smokestacks, no grime. It's a portrait of a campus where light is studied, not just produced. That image had purpose. It built trust. It said, this place is careful. This place is modern. The research was careful, and it touched many homes in Cleveland. Steady jobs pulled entire neighborhoods into the daily rhythm of the campus. East Cleveland, Cleveland Heights, Parma, city directories from those years carried the same lines again and again. Lampworks, GE, Nela Park. One household might have a lab technician, another a glass worker, another a clerk or a stockroom hand. During the war, more women stepped into these roles, testing lamps, inspecting filaments, and keeping records while husbands, fathers, and brothers were overseas. Paychecks from the campus bought groceries at corner stores. They paid rent to landlords up and down the side streets. They sent kids to school with new notebooks. They bought war bonds. The work was technical, but the results were ordinary and human. Bills paid, families supported, lights on. Walk the grounds in your mind for a moment. Brick arches at the entrances, wide walks between buildings, a row of windows glowing after sunset. Inside, a research bench with an array of meters, a glassblower shaping a tube, a test rack of lamps burning hour after hour while someone notes the failures and the survivors. Innovation here wasn't always dramatic. It came in increments, a filament alloy that lasts 10% longer, a coating that spreads light more evenly, a transformer that hums a little less, small gains repeated. Over time, those changes reshaped how houses felt after dark. Reading lamps that didn't strain your eyes, kitchens bright enough for safe work, streets that felt less risky to walk at night. The city noticed. Cleveland newspapers ran stories about the campus and its displays. Holiday features appeared year after year. Photos of lighted scenes made their way into scrapbooks. Families told friends, "You have to go see it this winter." The place became a landmark you recognized even if you never set foot inside a lab. There's another layer to this postcard. The postmark, the handwriting, the price of postage, the route the card took from Ohio to New Hampshire. Each detail captures a system that kept moving even while the world was in conflict. Trains carried sacks of letters. Sorters worked in shifts. Carriers climbed hills with leather bags. This single card sat in those sacks, crossed those miles, and landed in a rural mailbox with that small line about rain. You can feel the scale shift as you look at it. Big war, big industry. Then one campus, then one building, then one lab bench, then one hand, holding a pen, writing a line about the weather. History often looks huge from a distance. Up close, it looks like this: a picture, a stamp, a few words. What did Nela Park leave behind? A way of organizing industrial research that many companies later copied. A habit of public demonstrations that taught people how to read light, not just switch it on. A city tradition that carried families through winters. And a long chain of everyday improvements that saved power and reduced waste. The campus stands today. Ownership and branding have changed over the decades, but the shape of the place is still there. The brick, the lawns, the sense that ideas were built here like careful machines. Now take one more look at the front of the card. If you were standing there in 1944, you would hear tires crunch on the entry drive. You would smell cut grass. You would see the shadows the buildings throw in late afternoon. Somewhere inside, a test rig flips on with a soft click, and another batch of lamps begins its run. It's easy to think of electricity as a given. Flip a switch. Done. But the long road to that simple act runs through places like this, through experiments that did not work the first time, through charts of numbers, through fittings and fixtures and glass that needed one more try to meet a standard. Who sent the card? The handwriting is brisk and tidy, no flourish, no long note, maybe a worker on a lunch break, maybe a spouse visiting a relative, maybe a friend passing through. The point is the connection. I am here, I'm thinking of you. That is the job a postcard is built to do. If you hold cards like this at home, look closely. The name of the place matters, yes. But so do the little things. The stamp design, the town written on the address line, the way a G loops, the weather note. Tiny details can place a person in a moment with surprising precision. Nela Park fits naturally into Cleveland's larger story, a city shaped by steel, by rail, by lake traffic, and by a network of neighborhoods where people built long lives in ordinary houses. A city where research and manufacturing shared space with festivals and Friday night errands. A city where a winter drive past holiday lights could become a tradition that lasted generations. That is what this postcard offers, a picture to anchor the memory, and a message that anchors the person. Together, they turn a large subject, electric light, into something you can hold between finger and thumb. Let's close where we began. The year is 1944. The card moves from Cleveland to West Canaan, New Hampshire. It carries a line about rain and the absence of snow. Somewhere between the sender and B. Clough, the war presses on. Trains clatter past dark fields. A clerk stamps a stack of envelopes. A carrier walks a rural road. At the end of that chain, someone opens a mailbox and smiles at a familiar hand. That's the story in miniature. Work continued, research continued, families continued, light continued. If you have postcards tucked away in albums or boxes that you'd like to share, I'd like to see them. Visit ancestralfindings.com and click on the contact link. I'll send you my mailing address. From time to time, I may share one on the podcast so others can see it and learn from it. Thanks for listening to Postcards from the Past. Until next time. If you've got a hard-to-find ancestor you're stuck on, I'd love to hear about it. Just head over to ancestralfindings.com and click on Contact to send me a message. While you're there, take advantage of our free weekly genealogy lookups. Explore thousands of articles and enjoy hundreds of podcast episodes. We've been helping family history researchers since 1995. And if you're looking for even more, check out our Genealogy Gold Q&A series over on Patreon. Thanks for listening, and as always, happy searching.